And I call this meeting of the Templeton Advisory Committee to order. At this time, I would ask everyone to please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. A couple of housekeeping items before we begin the regular.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Spring.
I'd like to take and end up proposing that we have a moment of silence for the 13 servicemen that died in Afghanistan, who are really heroes in my eyes.
And Mr. Barnes?
It should be heroes in all of our eyes. I agree with you. Would you all please join me in observing a moment of silence for the 13 who gave their ultimate sacrifice in Afghanistan for the safety of this country and its people. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, again,
Yes, sir.
If I might, as I always do with a little bit of homework, since we have some new members, I ended up going to the Attorney General's divisions, and there's a public body checklist for creating and improving minutes. I checked that against ours, and the only thing I can end up saying is the second thing on it says minutes should include an accurate summary of the discussion, and I say summary because we could probably cut back on some of the detail in the future, and that's pretty well it. And of course, the motions, anytime we vote, that has to be on. And the fact that we have it on our town government, all the documents, it complies to this.
Good. Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Spring. A couple of housekeeping items before we begin regular business. This meeting is being broadcast on TCTV Channel 8 and the TCTV YouTube channel. I would like to note that if any comments are made in the YouTube channel's chat feature, those will be taken into the public record, and we will answer them as we can. The agenda for this meeting was posted to mytowngovernment.org 48 hours in advance of this meeting per open meeting laws. For those who are who are playing at home, the items on the agenda are all also uploaded there, and you'll notice that the titles of all the items that are uploaded correspond to their position in the meeting agenda. And so, without further ado, let's begin with the meeting agenda, starting with Section 3, approval of the meeting minutes. Item 3A, I have the minutes from July 1st, 2021. I'll accept a motion to approve those as presented.
Motion to accept as presented.
I have a motion from Mr. Spring. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Ms. Bartolomeo to approve the minutes from July 1st as presented. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion on the motion, as I call your name, please indicate approval of the motion by saying yes. If you do not approve of the motion, please say no, and you may also abstain if you so desire. Ms. Bartolomeo?
Yes.
Mr. Spring?
Yes.
Ms. Hansa?
Yes.
Mr. Kaplis?
I abstain.
And I am a yes. That passes 4 yes, 0 no, 1 abstention at 6:40 p.m. 4 yeah, 0 no, 1 abstention. 6. Item 3B, the meeting minutes from July 15th, 2021. I'll accept the motion to approve those as presented.
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, moved by Mr. Spring and seconded by Ms. Bartolomeo to accept the minutes from July 15th, 2021 as presented. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion on the motion. Go ahead, Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Lamontagne.
I just noticed under discussion 5A, it says SPM, just this needs to reflect
Discussion,
SPM,
hang on.
just the SPM to
Ah,
SPM for special
yes.
town meeting. And I believe there's another typo under follow-up or section 2, and that should reflect STM as well. Minor, but
And where's the second one you said,
All
Mr.?
right here. Follow up right there.
Yes, now I see it. Thank you.
that's all I have.
Can I have somebody
Can
I have somebody make an amendment?
To
amendment?
amend the minutes with the putting in STM in those, and A, part 1,
Section
and
5A1.
also follow up on number 2 is also the STM, that they can correct the, instead of SPM, STM.
Do I have a second to that amendment?
Second.
Okay.
Nice, good eyes.
I now have a amended motion to approve the minutes from July 15th, 2021. Motion to approve as amended. Is there any further discussion on said motion? Hearing none. I go to a vote. Ms. Bartolomeo?
Yes.
Mr. Spring?
Yes.
Ms. Hansa?
Yes.
Mr. Kaplis?
Yes.
And I am a yes. That passes 5 yes, 0 no, 1 abstention at 6:42 PM. Item 3C, the minutes from July 29th, 2021. I'll accept the motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Spring. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Ms. Bartolomeo to accept the minutes from July 29th as presented. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I did just.
Yeah.
And it may be my error. I went to I had to take and end up getting it 3 times here. It might be that I had it from a previous one, but I have different, it's different than the one that's on the website. No, I got it off our assignment off of.
Yeah.
But the correct one. I didn't know if this was previous, maybe previous minutes that we had at some other time. Because I did copy them and I had them. They look somewhat,
I don't have that copy that you're looking
I know
at.
I came up with this one.
I don't have the copy that you're looking at. The copy that I'm looking at,
Yeah,
the copy that I provided, I cleaned up a little bit.
Oh,
That might be the reason.
that's the reason why.
Yeah.
I
went through
I
and-
want to know if it was me or
No.
what. Okay.
So the copy that, let me clarify that. I received the minutes from Ms. Cover, our previous scribe.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did go through and clean them up just for formatting.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Before I presented them, because I did just literally just for clarification and ease of reading. That's all it was.
That was my only,
Yeah.
that was my question. I don't have any things.
I apologize. I probably should have mentioned that. I didn't. That's my fault.
I thought so, but I wasn't sure if it was me or.
No. It wasn't you. I went through and I just neatened them up so that they were easy to read. That's all.
To clean up your act.
Yeah.
Now, play nice. I know that's a difficult thing for this entire board, and I'm okay with it, but is there any other discussion on the motion to approve as presented the minutes of July 29th? Hearing none, we move to a vote. Ms. Bartolomeo,
Yes.
Mr. Spring,
Yes.
Ms. Hansa,
Yes.
and Mr. Kaplis.
Yes.
And I am a yes. That passes 5 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions at 6:45 PM.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Spring.
Almost forgot my name. That's okay.
It's been a long week.
I totally understand that.
Go ahead,
The
sir.
reason I want to take and end up doing it before the motion here
Yep.
is to bring up a couple of points.
Yep.
You had originally said about town meeting times,
Yep.
town meeting
I
times.
removed that.
Yes,
Yep.
it has nothing to do with it.
Yep.
This committee per
Yep.
se. The other
I
thing
removed that,
is-
yes.
is I looked and I did a lot of research on this, and I want to point out one thing. That Robert's rules have never been, and I checked on this, have never been accepted by this committee.
Oh,
So
that's probably a
let
fair
me
point.
just read a ruling that I said. They're not legally binding unless formally adopted by the entity, which is us. So
Even though I'm using them,
that's
That's your.
they're
correct.
technically not legally binding.
That's
Okay.
correct. I did a little more research, and there was, under Roberts, there was things about under a dozen people, which we are.
Mm.
It's a little less formal,
Mm.
which we always have been.
Mhm.
But I found that the basics of parliamentary procedure fits us better because That's really how we've been operating.
Fair.
So I just make that as a recommendation going to the future, that we need to look at that instead of Roberts.
Okay,
Okay,
understood.
so
Understood.
I am, my recommendation is to pass over the motion as being illegal, but I leave that up to the chair.
Well, having said that, I reserve the right to change the agenda as necessary. So I choose not to even present it.
Okay, I'm leaving it up to you.
No, that's fine.
I brought up the dates,
That's
okay?
fine.
Thank you.
What I will state is that to the board that we do have a very heavy agenda. So I would just ask that we please keep our comments as brief and to the point as we can this evening in order to be able to plow through this as much as possible, because unfortunately, by canceling a meeting 2 weeks ago, that left us with that meeting's agenda plus everything else I had to add onto it.
Yep.
So I would just ask that let's just keep our comments brief and to the point this evening as much as possible so that we can get through as much as possible in the time we have allotted.
Yep.
Okay. Moving to section 4, correspondence. Item A, on August 4th, 2021, we received a memo from Madam Lamontagne of a gift from the Light Department of a Ford Explorer. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept this into the record as read and reviewed.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes.
could, before we end up doing that.
Yep.
I see that the correspondence, for, in the future, I wouldn't like to I would like to see this type of correspondence because we got it as emails, not on here. The only one that I can agree with is the resignation, which we have to address.
It's fine.
But the fact that we got something from Mr. Lamontagne and Mr. May about different subjects.
And then that's so fine. Then
I'm just trying to
no
think of-
motion has to be made. If we just want to bring it up that it's been, that I just want to say that it's been presented.
Okay.
My point is that it's already been decided. There's nothing we could do anyway
That's-
if we
and
disagreed.
Again, that's fine. So it's been presented. If
Okay,
there's any
fine.
discussion on this at this time, we
Okay.
can make it. If not, we'll move on.
Thank you.
Okay. I will say there's also from the 10th of August, there's a letter here from Robert Bay regarding a potential for a skating rink in town. Again, I'm going to present it. And we'll just say that it's been presented.
Yes, move on.
Okay.
I'll agree with that.
Okay. Now, this one we have to do something about.
Yes.
On August 15th, a resignation letter from April Cover. This was effective immediately, August 15th, 2021. Hello, Mr. Lamontagne and Ms. Harris. I am regretfully having to resign from the advisory committee. My resignation will take effect immediately. I'm not going to go into the further details of the reasons for the resignation, other than it is public, or other than it is personal reasons. Thank you for the opportunity. It's been a great learning experience, and I hope to rejoin the committee again in the future. Respectfully, April Cover, Scribe Advisory Committee. I'll accept the motion to accept this into the record as read and reviewed.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion to accept this as read and reviewed with regrets. I saw her as a valuable member when she discussed and wanted to take and end up doing stuff on the committee. It's unfortunate of her situation.
I have a motion by Mr. Spring. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second by Mr. Kaplis to accept this resignation into the record as read and reviewed with regrets. Is there any discussion on said motion? Hearing none. A vote, Ms. Bartolomeo,
Yes.
Mr. Spring,
Yes.
Ms. Hansa,
Yes.
Mr. Kaplis,
Yes.
and I am a yes. That passes 5 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions at 6:50 PM. The final item that we have under correspondence this evening from August 30th, 2021 is a committee interest form from, I have Mary in parentheses, I will say Ellen Hansa. I had 2 suggested motions here. The one that I'm going to recommend is the motion to accept Ellen Hansa to the advisory committee. I'm sorry, I read the wrong one. To accept into the record as read and reviewed, as Ms. Hansa has been appointed by the moderator and sworn in by the town clerk.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Spring, a second by Mr. Kaplis to accept it as read and reviewed as she has been sworn in by the clerk. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Bartolomeo,
Yes.
Mr. Spring,
Yes.
Ms. Hansa,
Yes.
Mr. Kaplis.
Yes.
And I am a yes, 5-0-0 at 6:51 PM. That motion is adopted. Ms. Hansa, if you'd like, would you like to introduce yourself to the town for a moment and then? and then we welcome you to the advisory committee.
Okay, well, I go by Ellen Hansa. My legal name is Mary, so you might see it sometimes as Mary. We moved in about 3 years ago. And unfortunately, 2 of those years have been in very quiet, shall I say. We hope to get to know this town a whole lot better. Seems like a nice town.
Well, welcome, and we're happy to have you. Thank you very
Ellen, I'd
much
like
for
to take
your.
and end up thanking you for joining in and volunteering for this
Thank
thing.
you.
And I understand how you want your name, because my name is Wilfred. I like to go by Will.
Will, okay, duly noted.
All right. Well, welcome aboard, Ellen. We appreciate your volunteering. Thank you for joining us. All right, let's move to old business. Item 5A. In July, we had asked this committee to review the policy on emergency reserve fund transfers. I have not received anything from any committee members as to what changes we would like. I assume that there will be some asks in this discussion.
Yes.
What you have presented in your packets is I took the policy, I cleaned it up for some formatting, and I made a couple of little grammatical tweaks in order to make it a little bit clearer to read. Other than that, I have made no changes to it. With the exception of I added a revision history at the end that will state the revision number. In this case will be 1. The revision date will be, I'll change that to September, obviously, because it will be when it is. The author, I'm just going to leave as me, because I'm going to be the one who does the final on it. And then I also noted an extra review date in there of, I put it out 3 years.
That's appropriate.
Okay.
It can be 1 year, but
Yeah.
but that's 3 years.
I think 3 years is a good enough review time. The intention is that if we come to an agreement on this, that this will be obviously any changes that need to be made, I will make. And then this will be posted to the town website as an approved policy. Mr. Lamontagne.
Only thing I ask is, because I see the way it's, you have the edited version.
That'll all be gone by the time that's literal. The reason the edited version is up there is so that the committee could see what I did. You know, this is.
But you'll send us a cleaned up.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll send the town a clean copy before it's approved. So at this point, I would ask for a motion to approve the edited policy and send to the administrative assistant for posting on the town website. And then we will amend inside once we make.
Okay.
I need the motion first,
Okay.
and then we will discuss it.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second,
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the edited policy and send to the administrative assistant for posting on the town website. At this time, I will accept any discussion and amendments to that motion.
Yes. First, I'm going to go just down this and tell you that I agree with your thing about the definitions. I'm not sure about in the next paragraph, in the course of, you have during business. I think it's preferably to take it into having in the course of business.
Okay. So
I'd like to think and see that change.
that's fine. We can put that back. I'm going to
And
circle
then-
that right now.
On the policy, going further down.
Yep.
It talks about the snow and ice.
Yep.
And it in excess is to me better than more than.
Okay.
And I say that because they always talk about that. Same thing for the second line in there.
Yep.
And I agree with you, getting rid of therefore and putting departments.
Okay.
It cleans it up a little bit more.
Okay.
The other suggestion I have is on the reserve transfers on the next page. Let's see. Instead of in order to, it's just to approve advisory. And they should be of the opinion rather than believe. We have to,
Okay. I see what you're saying. Yep.
yeah, we have to be of the opinion it is rather than believe.
Okay.
This is just semantics, okay?
That's fine.
And then going way down to the bottom where we talk about the request for transfer, request must be submitted with the attached form, and I agree, getting rid of that,
Mhm.
using the emergency reserve
request form.
request is much cleaner. It's right out there rather than
Okay.
saying that.
Mhm.
Because we have the attachment also, and we can talk about that briefly if you want to. And
I didn't make any changes to the form. by the
yes,
way.
I understand that.
I felt I felt personally the form is fine as is. I didn't make any changes.
And the last one that you have is when completed emergency reserve should be submitted to the town administrator, striking copy of the town administrative assistant. This is after I had talked to the administrator concerning the thing. It's more appropriate for him to get it
Okay.
rather than his assistant.
Yep.
He should revoke, and he has a process already where he reviews it, and he has the individuals, as we saw the veterans agent last year come before us and answer any questions. And the rest of it, as far as revision, I totally agree with that per se. I think we can end up gaining some space so that, because it would leaked onto a third page. I'm not sure if you have that.
I can fiddle that. I can, yeah, it leaked onto a third page, but the third page is blank.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's not a, yeah.
Those are my suggestions to take and end up making the changes.
And having said that also, Will,
Yeah.
Mr. Spring,
Yes.
the reason it leaked onto a third page
Yeah.
is because I had the document set up to show all changes. Once I
Yeah.
eliminate all that, it'll go back to two
Yeah,
pages.
I think you can get some space.
We'll get it. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
So in that case, since the changes, I have recorded the changes that you are requesting in my copy. Since you are the original mover.
Yep.
You may amend, and then we'll just ask if there's any, and we'll ask if there's any objections to the amendments.
I'm making those as amendments to the document.
So the original mover is asking for amendments to the document. Is there any objections to the amendments that Mr. Spring has requested?
No.
Hearing none, they are adopted as part of the original motion.
Okay, now are we gonna submit this now to them?
Well, no, first of all, I'm going to ask if anyone else had any other comments on
Oh,
this in
okay.
order, and then if that's the case, then we will vote on the motion as amended.
Yep.
And if the motion the motion to present it as amended is adopted,
Yep.
I will make the changes that we have
Clean it up.
discussed, and I will send it to the town for posting on the website.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for clarifying that.
Okay.
Yep.
So at this point, I ask, is there any other comments or concerns or changes that we'd like to see to this document?
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes,
think,
Mr. Stephanopoulos.
I think this is it's really good. I like it. And we following the policy, the town policy on policies? Is this formatted the same way as all the town policies are formatted? Shouldn't be a problem. Because again, it's all about the consistency across the board. So if there's one format, then it's one format. That'd be my only thing. I mean, everything else is great.
Excellent.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments on this before I take it to vote? All right. So at this time, the vote is on the motion to approve the edited policy on emergency reserve fund transfers as amended, and to send to the administrative assistant for posting on the town website. The vote, Ms.
Yes.
Bartolomeo,
Yes.
Mr. Spring,
Yes.
Mr. Capellas.
Yes.
Ms. Hansa.
Yes.
And I am a yes. That's going to pass 5-0-0 at 7 p.m. Thank you, members, for your input on that. And I will make those changes, and this will be posted to the town website.
You're putting this along with it?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
The
okay.
reserve fund transfer form will go along with it.
No,
Absolutely.
it's, by the way, just for informational, this form is already on the website.
Yep. We'll add
It's just
the,
the policy that's not.
it'll be good that we have the policy with it, and this is hopefully how we're going to do this as the year goes on, because now later on in discussion, I have the next policy that we were going to review.
Yeah.
And I'll put a month out for that, and we'll hopefully bring that back at the end of September to review it.
The only thing, can I add something for people that,
Yeah.
we have 8,000 people in this town. And a
At
good
all?
majority of, or a little more than that,
I know.
more than, a majority of them don't understand how town government works.
Mhm.
And the reserve fund is money that's set aside in a special account so that if in the middle of a snowstorm, we have a major repair and there's not money in the budget, they can come to the advisory board and ask for a transfer. instead of taking it out of their regular operating budget. So it's for unforeseen circumstances. The advisory board only gets to approve the transfer. We never touch any money. Absolutely not, but they are the transfers that people come to, and that is pretty much the only time that we have anything directly to do with town finances, really, aside from making suggestions and giving opinions.
Other than when the year transfers and we still don't touch the money.
No, yeah, so that's what they need to know.
Now, because just for clarification, we have it in the account. It has to go to the accountant who actually transfers from the emergency reserve to whatever account that the requester wants us to put it in for whatever the issue is.
And I would also state for the public's knowledge that it's the general policy of the town administrator, the current town administrator, Mr. Lamontagne, that he's going to be pushing the departments to use the emergency reserve fund more than the town administrators have in the past. So last year, we only had one request of the emergency reserve in the amount of $3,000. It was from the veterans services. And I would expect that we're going to see more of those this year as a result of the town administrator's policy to push it to us. So I would expect to see that more often this year than we did last
I'd
year.
like to thank the administrator for allowing so they can do our job.
And also to note that there is this year's budget for that account is $50,000. We have 50,000 in that line for fiscal year 2022, which ends on June 30th, 2020.
If we level fund and
Well,
we run into some problems that there really isn't money to take from anywhere else, that it goes back into free cash at the end of the year if we don't use it.
That's correct.
So
So basically, we donated $44,500 back into free cash last fiscal year 21,
But-
because what we didn't
if you
use.
use it appropriately and somebody has a problem, that's what it's for.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Next item, new business, item 6A, the FY 2021 final budget versus actual document. There are 4 documents in this package. The first is the final cash flow. The second is the final budget report. The third is the final balance sheet. And the fourth is the actual BVA expenses. I would note to the committee that this was finalized as of July 15th, 2021. There is nothing that can be done to this. So if there's any comments, we can make them. But other than that, there's nothing that really can be done to it. So at this point, I would ask for a motion to accept this into the record as read and reviewed.
Okay, I'll have discussion when we get that.
That's fine.
I'll make a motion to accept them as read. and reviewed.
Second,
And I have a second. I have a motion by Mr. Kaplis and a second by Mr. Spring to accept the budget versus actual document, all 4 documents into the record as read and reviewed. Is there any discussion on said motion? Mr. Spring,
yes. One of the things I noted was on,
you're looking at the budget report.
right, I'm looking at the final budget report. If I read this correctly, it shows, because we brought in more money than was anticipated. And it looks like the amount of monies that we have brought in is $372,685.25. So that I anticipate until the account does her job, that will be part of the free cash.
Mr. Lamontagne is in the room. Would you, if you'd like to speak to it, I'd ask you to I would ask you to please come to the hot seat and you can, you're going to follow up with the town accountant. Thank you. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Spring?
Yes, that was on that document.
Okay, next document.
The next document would be
This is the balance sheet.
right, the BVA,
Oh, you're going straight to the
Right, I'm gonna
BVA.
skip over
Skip the
that.
balance sheet, go to the BVA.
right, the BVA. And the reason I'm going to the BVA
Okay,
is, and I want to point out a couple of things.
okay. Listening carefully.
And I looked at the BVA, and I also saw what the administrator did. And I was gonna, he beat me to the questions that I was gonna have on the BVA. He's given us a sheet that highlights everything that's under 70%.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Lamontagne. That was my question. That shows that people are asking for too much money.
For the public's knowledge, this was presented to the advisory committee. It is not presented in this package, but it was presented to the advisory committee of all the accounts that were under 70% utilized.
We had talked about this, I had brought this up before, but
I'm sorry, to interrupt you for more. For that record, the advisory committee is on that list for a couple of accounts, but I just wanted to say
Yes,
that.
yeah.
I just wanted to say that for the record.
Yeah. we have some accounts that we underspent. And I want to take and thank the administrator for being proactive, because I had brought some of those particular ones that he's highlighted. Those are accounts that I ended up highlighting way back when we were doing the budget, and they are underspent by significantly. The other thing I would like to take and end up pointing out, and to everybody's surprise, I'm sure, is the fact that I ended up going through the ending balance of monies left, okay, in everybody's account, and I added them all up per se to each department, and I came up with excess money that should be going to free cash of $480,393.21.
That's a lot of extra.
And we were 10% of that.
Huh?
And we were 10% of that.
You were?
Well, yeah, because we
Well,
gave
that's-
back
that's good.
we gave back 44,500 in the
Right,
emergency
that's
reserve fund.
Emergency reserve,
Yeah,
yes,
we were 10% of that.
because it wasn't used.
Yeah.
Which is,
It is what it is. I mean, there's no,
basically, it's a good thing that we have money in the
Mhm.
emergency reserve, because there was no emergencies to address. And that's what it's there for. So I want to point those out, that we have potentially between the two, almost $800,000. Yes.
that's, and in all honesty, I would say that's, I mean, good on the town that we have that extra money.
Yep.
I would say, because I think that Mr. Lamontagne is, I believe, going to be pushing for level funding for FY 2023, which if we have 800 something thousand dollars left over at the end of 2021, and we may have something, maybe not as much left over at the end of 2022, but that means we probably have room at 2023.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
Mr. Hang on. I'm gonna go to Mr. Lamontagne first because he had his hand up, and then Mr. Kaplis, you're next. Adam, go ahead.
So if I can, I had conversations with the accountant. Right now, our free cash certification is pending, because I've been really making sure that gets in there.
Yep.
In my conversations with her. Also, we talked about the money that wasn't expended. But then those are also those special articles that I did close out. The
Yep.
Advisory committee's aware of
Yes.
that as well.
Yep.
So I'm pretty hopeful that we get this free cash certification, that we need to find out where that is, and I'll forward that information over once it's received.
That's on top of the monies that I've just talked. I didn't talk about the special articles. I figured you would work that issue up.
Yep. Mr.
The only thing I would hope, and this is just a comment, that the selectmen would end up putting more into the stabilization, all the stabilization
Yeah.
accounts and OPEB.
Don't dump it all into free cash, put some into the stabilization.
Yes,
accounts. Yes, I would agree with that. Mr. Kaplis.
Well, as long as it continuously following the management policies that are in effect that the town has, I think, and the percentages that are in there, I think that would be great. But again, we look at money, and it's not like extra money. I mean, obviously, the town budget's based on projections.
Mhm.
So like if there was 2 or 3 employees that weren't hired, that money has to get turned back in. So, I mean, obviously, most employees are between $50,000 and $60,000. So we look at $300,000-$400,000, which is a significant amount of money. But when you look at all the departments that pull their money back in, some it could be insurance stuff. It could be we overestimated insurance. We overestimated the medical insurance. We overestimated, the fact that people had either left us or we didn't hire somebody. So I think if you break that all down to the different departments of why X amount of dollars weren't spent, I think there was there's always a reason behind it. It's not like we overestimated, like, we're just going to give this department, extra money because we want to give them extra money. That's not the intention of the town administrator or the board of selectmen.
John, the thing I noticed is that the salaries portion was not hit very hard. it would be in the realm of what I expected in the high 90s.
Yeah, it was about almost 100,000, yeah.
Are there, Mr. Lamontagne, yes.
And to the point brought up, Mr. Kaplis, we're doing everything we can and we're following financial management policies, the select board and I do want to mention this too, the insurance and benefits account. If you look at that I could attribute that to the fact that we signed off on the select board and us working together, we signed off on a joint purchasing agreement. Maya came in with an offer, which was a negative number for us because we got that premium holiday.
Mhm.
So that's why you see about roughly $120,000 left in insurance and benefits, was because we're able to really go to the marketplace with our health insurance. That's something that we're going to continually do. I'm still in talks, because we still, even though we kept Maya for one more year, we still have a legal JPA in place with other communities, and that's something that we're going to continually work on because Maya utilized quite a bit of their trust funds in order to give us that premium holiday, but we have to be cognizant of that moving forward. So the health insurance, that's why you'll see that number, and it's probably with the lowest ending balances in insurance and benefits from previous years. So we're really trying to, because you set the budget, even though we put in 0%, with that premium holiday, when it came in lower, that's where you have that excess because the numbers actually came in lower in retrospect.
Right. And it has to sit there because obviously it's voted at town meeting, so the budget doesn't stay as is, unless there's a special town meeting to move said funds out of there. So that's why there's extra money that comes back actually into the town as free cash at the end of the year.
And to that point too, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
you see, like, the board could have cut that amount in the budget, it would have been late. But the thing is, then you're putting yourself in a deficit
You'll be at risk.
for the next fiscal year. So you never really want to, you want to have it where you're watching it, but you're also taking the risk into play as well.
I was very verbal about that because I saw that amount of money. I prefer to take a seat of that, the overage in that account be less than $100,000. It is, to me, it was still too much. I'd accept it, 60 to 75,000. Okay, I understand ups and downs, but you don't want to end up being too much. It's better than past years. I have to say that.
And I have to say also that, I mean, these numbers are, since 2016, there's almost $1 million in stabilization. That's impressive. That's very impressive.
Yep.
I mean, compared to 2016, there was zero. So,
Yeah. I
zero.
wouldn't compare anything to that.
I would echo Mr. Kaplis's comments. I'd applaud the town on
That's
their
great.
fiscal responsibility to ensure that the stabilization accounts are good, that the OPEC, that account is good, and that we still have free cash flowing above and beyond. I believe it's the 5% that we're supposed to. This is a very good balance sheet.
It is.
It's a very good balance
I
sheet.
have to agree that it's a good balance sheet, but you also have to understand, because I've been here long enough, that there was things that ended up that we do now that weren't done to end up bringing some additional monies in.
Agree.
We ended up a number of years ago, we sold almost $500,000 worth of properties that were for back taxes. That was a big boon.
It was.
And that put them back on the roll. So that was a positive that really needed to happen. That was a buildup over time. And just something like that there, if we had that money in previous years, we probably would have had some in the pot.
Right.
But then there are things that we haven't done and we have roads you can barely ride down.
Yeah.
So some of that we have to I know Jeffrey's talked about future planning for an account for our road repair. Because people are paying a lot of money. They're living out in the sticks where I do, and the road is almost impassable. Some people spent $350,000, $400,000 and more on houses and have a dirt road,
Was he talking like opening like a revolving fund?
something like that, I guess. But that's something he's working on. I agree with him.
Great. No, it's great.
Because,
I mean, we're about $1 million short each year on road reconstruction. And road
yep,
fixing,
we
so-
didn't do hardly any, and all the money we paid patching, we could have got a road
It's
fixed.
funny because years ago, as I remember, and I've been here long enough, that we actually had an article go on the warrant to take and end up doing roads.
Mhm.
And it was a couple $100,000 and the voters voted it down. So that impacted our ability to fix roads during that particular period of time. It's unfortunate, but now some of those roads are even worse than what we have now.
Well, I just wanted to applaud the town meeting. This is fantastic. It's great. It's good to see.
Is there any other,
Coffers.
is there any other comments on the FY21 final BVA?
Well, at the end of the year, the thing that kind of concerns me a little bit is that we have such heavy spending in the last quarter, and I wonder why. You had,
Specific,
you had
specific
the accounting department spent 8,000 more in the fourth quarter than the previous three averages. So I don't understand how come that was that much more. Maybe Adam can check that out.
I think you could almost explain that by the fact that in the fourth quarter, you're preparing for the final, for the end of the year.
Well, I
But,
don't know. I think you
But
need to-
yes, if we could ask Mr. Lamontagne to take a look into that, please.
And the police, they averaged $302,000 for quarters 1 through 3, and their fourth quarter was $450,000. That's a 50% bump. So that, unless paperwork's not getting processed fast enough and it all comes in at the end.
Mr. Lamontagne, go ahead.
The chair, I believe the police was a contractual obligation.
Okay,
And the accountant, I believe, but I'll double check, it's because we hired the assistant accountant.
And that hit the fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter.
Yep, that would
So
make
that's why we
sense.
thought Before, there was just one person in the
Okay.
office.
all right. Well, that's
We got
just
the
what
But didn't we
it
budget
was-
for that person?
Did.
Why would we be, because we spent it out. Okay, yes. I'm sorry.
It finally got used in the fourth
Finally
quarter, yeah.
Yes. It dawned on me while I was talking.
That's okay.
In the last quarter for the police, there is there's contractual stuff that they have to pay out, like vacations and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So obviously more money was spent in the last quarter.
There it
And
was.
even the select board, you guys were spending 38,000 a quarter from 1 to 3, but you ended up spending 56 in the fourth.
Part of that probably is also the town meeting.
And catch up with the legal bills.
Okay,
Because those, if you remember me saying before, and I mentioned this to the select board, is with town council, and I give them a hard time, was I gotta get these bills in because I have to be able to figure out my budget. And if I get something at the end.
Yeah,
where I
makes it
don't have-
difficult.
have it- I can't really figure out how much it's gonna come in at. I still have to make sure I spend within my appropriation that town meeting gives me. So, there was some bills that were backed up there.
See, I'm glad you're here.
So the department heads are actually fulfilling their responsibilities and managing what they need to manage.
Correct. And if they have any issues with an account, they would come to me.
Excellent. Good job.
just for a point of anyone who is asked to speak, I'd ask you to, because the microphones are out in the room, I would ask you to come to the hot seat just so that, just for people watching on YouTube that may see this later, it'll be a lot easier for people to hear responses after the fact. That's all. So you may not have to, Adam, because we may be done here. Is there any other discussion on the final BVA?
He's actually being picked up by the
Okay.
city myself, so.
Oh, yes, right.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on the final BVA for FY 2021? All right, hearing none, then we go back to the motion to accept into the record as reviewed, and we go to a vote. Ms. Bartolomeo,
Yes.
Mr. Spring,
Yes.
Mr. Kaplis,
Yes.
Ms. Hansa,
Yes.
and I am a yes. That is 5-0-0 at 7:20 PM. Thank you all for the good discussion on that. And again, thank you to the town for their prudent fiscal strategies and making sure that we have money in the coffers. This was a very good final BVA for fiscal year 2021. Next item on the agenda is item 6B, proposed article for fall special town meeting. Before I ask for a motion on this, I will note that I spoke to the town administrator prior to this meeting, and he said that if we do choose to adopt this, we can get it into the fall town meeting if I can present it to him ASAP. I'm sorry?
And finally,
Final, yes. And the way that I've presented it, you can see it's presented in such a fashion that they're probably not going to have to do any rewriting to it because it's presented as it would go into the as it would go into the warrant.
Yeah.
So I would, at this time, accept the motion. I'm gonna change the motion that I have on the agenda. I'm actually gonna make a motion to accept the article as presented for presentation to the select board. Because they would have to put it on.
Yeah.
So I'll accept the motion to accept the article as presented and present it to the select board for entry into the warrant.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to accept the article as presented and present it to the select board for addition to the addition to the warrant. I am at this time now, I'm going to take discussion first because when I originally wrote this, we had talked about the role of the moderator. And I had removed the role of the moderator in the vacancy section, but having said that, as I read it again, I realized that, and this is going to be a very, this is going to come back to us as having happened recently. At the end of the most recent town meeting, this committee was left without a quorum of members. So it was unable to transact business. And it was contingent on the moderator to appoint to the committee in order for it to have a quorum of personnel to be able to construct business. So I am proposing an amendment, and the person who made the motion and the seconder would have to accept it. The amendment I am proposing is at the end of section 9-3 vacancies to add the following text. If the advisory committee cannot conduct business due to a lack of quorum, the moderator may appoint to the advisory committee any registered voters showing interest until a quorum has been seated. This basically is an insurance policy so that we can, so that the committee
I
can,
was thinking you were going to talk about the 30 days because
that's not,
in the 9.2, he has 30 days after the annual town meeting to take it close out.
I understand after town
Yeah,
meeting, this is in general. This is if on August 14th, 2021, the committee was left with 3 members.
The scenario would have been that if
Yeah.
the chairman had taken his leave
Yeah.
before,
Yeah.
it would have left us without
A quorum.
enough quorum. And I have to agree because we did fill it, but it was pending as to whether you would stay long enough.
Right.
And I have to agree that putting it in that he has to fill it if there is none. My biggest concern is this, and it has nothing to do with that particular thing. If I can discuss it. My biggest thing is that the moderator has really never gone out and found anybody.
Right.
In the 9 years I have been. He usually gets something from either the town hall or somebody submits something to him as an interest form. Well, if you look at what his responsibilities are, he's not responsible except in articles, and I have the articles, and I think we talked about them previously. The articles were chapter 39, section 15 and 14 and 15 as to what he actually does.
Yeah.
He's not, other than the bylaw as appointing,
Yeah.
it doesn't say he has to go out and get anybody.
No.
That's
Yeah, the MGL does not give any power to
Right.
the moderator other than to run the town meeting.
right. And,
Yeah.
and the only other thing, the bylaw basically says he appoints.
Right.
And I want to point out that because we are changing it so that the advisory committee can fill the vacancies.
Mhm.
In the 9 years that we have been, and I have to take it up bowing to somebody that has gone out and found a number of people. Yes, is Bev, and I know that I have too, but I think Bev has been really outstanding to end up bringing on a number of people that are outstandanding people.
Yeah.
So I mean, I want to take it up. That's basically, it says that the advisory fills the vacancies.
Yep.
To us, it meant go out and get somebody. 7
Or
people
they
going
come
out
to
to get
us, or
somebody
they come to
versus
us.
one is better odds
Yeah.
for us to take and fill the vacancies.
And like I said, the only reason I'm making this amendment is under the circumstances that the advisory committee ends up with not enough members to conduct business, because at that point, the advisory committee wouldn't be able to review and vote on a committee interest form anyways.
Yes,
So that's the reason I'm requesting, that's the reason I'm asking for the amendment, and so that, and so like I said, now, I'm making the, I'm requesting, I'm adding the amendment.
Yep.
I would go to the person who made the motion. Do you accept the
so
amendment?
moves.
Does the seconder accepts the amendment? Okay. Is there any other discussion on this in particular?
The only thing I would say is you have a redundancy, you've lined out this here, right, in 9.4, you have what was previous there, you should line that out because it says change to read right after that.
Okay, hang on. In the second paragraph.
Yeah.
Okay,
And just strike it.
I
with
see
the
what you're
line.
saying. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
It's just to clear up.
Okay, so yes, the shall report, yeah, this would be, yep, I see what you're saying.
Yep.
Yeah. Shall
Thank
be changed to read, yeah.
That way there, they can see that what was there, and then you put in what needs to be in.
When a moderator is the moderator at town meeting, that doesn't mean he's going to be the moderator at the fall town meeting.
Okay.
Because sometimes they
Oh, yeah.
quit,
Right,
or sometimes they can't make it.
Right.
So their job is really limited. And it's, I mean, sometimes people don't work in town.
Mhm.
Okay, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, people were home at 10 minutes past 5. They worked at Temple Stewart, little shops.
doesn't work like that anymore.
It does not work. Our world is a whole lot bigger. So it makes it, we do not vote on anything really aside from the reserve fund. We give our opinion, we give our suggestions, or whatever you want to call them.
Mhm.
And it doesn't make any sense for us to be hanging on a wire, waiting for someone else to come rescue our committee.
Yep.
When our committee,
Yep.
it
Because-
just doesn't work.
Because this year here, the situation you had, this is the new town moderator. This is his first meeting.
Yeah.
He was elected. We had the annual town meeting before the election, so he's coming into the fall town meeting. It's probably better for him to come in than the annual town meeting.
Even in the 70s, when I was on the advisory board the first time, Mr. Galzetti was from East Templeton and he worked at Simplex. He asked me if I wanted to join.
Mhm.
So it's always been pretty much that kind of a committee.
All right, and the 9.3 vacancies.
Yep.
This puts it back the way it was before the
Made sense.
the annual town meeting last year when it got changed.
Mhm.
And that goes back, that particular portion has been in effect since 1951.
And it's worked.
And I did this research, and that tells you it's been working.
Mhm.
And the same thing is the fact that we changed the days to 2 days. We ran into a problem last year where we did not make the 4 days that the last committee, and I had mentioned to them, and they chose to take and do it that way. Mr. Bennett has taken and taken the 2 days out of Article 22.6.
Yeah.
It makes more sense to put it in the advisory.
Right.
And it's there for the 2 days for annual and special.
Right, and that's the other portion of this, the other portion of this article is to put that back to 2 days as it has been previously.
Yep.
So at this point, I'm going to ask if there's any more discussion on the motion to approve the article as amended at this point.
Yes.
Okay, and present it to the select board for inclusion in the fall town meeting warrant. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
obviously I had two, obviously you corrected one. Which
Oh, good,
was
okay.
The quorum issue, because
Sweet.
obviously if you don't have a quorum, you can't appoint or select anybody.
And are you in agreement with the amendment, may I ask?
I am with that piece of it. I mean, I think that I think the moderator does, there has to be a checks and balance.
Yep.
And no matter what we do in life, there's always a checks and balance. We have the ability, yes, as a committee to go out and advertise and reach out to people and say, yep, you want to come in and join this organization, which is great. I mean, that still leaves the moderator the ability to either appoint that individual. I mean, I said at the last meeting that this was the only committee that was able to appoint.
Yep.
Well, obviously, I stand corrected. I mean, actually, Mr. Bennett found that the Open Space Committee, the 3 people have the ability to appoint themselves as well internally, which I didn't realize that either. But so thanks, Jeff. But this is the only committee that actually is responsible for dollars and responsible for watching the financial stability of a community, and having your own ability to vote on yourselves. It doesn't takes the checks and balance away. It's kind of like the people having to vote on a ballot for select board members because the people have to vote for these people, or other members like the health department or other departments that are voted in, like the town administrator, not town administrator, but the town clerk. And those folks. I just don't think that having a committee have the ability to vote on its own people, it takes the checks and balance away, and I don't think it's right. And I know it's been going on for ages, as Beverly pointed out. It's like but it doesn't mean it's right.
But we never refuse anyone. We never have yet. And we do not physically touch a penny. It is the advisory board is independent of everybody else.
Right.
We conduct our business in public. It took Ellen over a week because the moderator, makes it too hard for someone to chase down to get an appointment. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. We are not the select board. We do not spend big money. We make recommendations. And that makes us different than everybody else. I think one time there was a girl that came and stayed for a little while, and she must have got appointed by that girl that was from Fitchburg. She worked for the police department. She must have got appointed by the moderator right after town meeting.
Right.
It makes it difficult for everyone. Trying to get someone that really is interested and wants to spend time on this committee is hard enough.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna
Let me
disagree.
just add to what Bev's saying. Doing my homework, as I always do, I found over 35 communities that in their bylaws, the advisory committee fills vacancies. In addition to that, there was a number that I'm not counting as in the bylaws, because they can appoint with the moderator or the board of selectmen. So they are involved in probably another 20 besides that. So there's a very large amount of advisory committees that appoint their own people in one form or another.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, there's 300 plus communities, cities and towns in Massachusetts. I'm sure that there are other towns which I didn't do the research, Will, so I'm not gonna sit here and say I did. I didn't do that. So I don't know. I'm sure there's some towns that the board of selectmen have to appoint. I'm sure there's some towns that they're voted by ballot vote.
Yes.
I'm sure there's some towns that are, that do, vote themselves into the committee. But again, I mean, everybody's different.
Anyone that wants to come on this committee is more than welcome. You
Yeah,
see
just so
them
you're
knocking the
aware,
door
John,
down?
What the process has always been is if we have a vacancy, even though we are allowed to bring somebody on, is we go to the selectman's office to see if anybody's got interest for them. Because we're not handpicking these people. I'm sorry. And I think that's what some people's conception is.
They come to us a lot of the
They
times.
come to us per se.
Ellen pretty much kind of.
We go to there first and then we go to the moderator and end up seeing if he has anybody before we actually go out and find somebody. And we have found in the time that I've been with vacancies, probably around 10 to 12 people successfully. And there's been a number of them that I would say were very valuable members that they have got on, they worked, But because of the administration and their frustration with the administration, they have gotten off and don't want to come on again.
Well, I'm not saying that you cannot, as a member, you cannot still reach out to Templeton residents. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying the committee should have,
What difference does a moderator? He doesn't know anybody from Adam. So he's off somewhere. He sends an email appointing her. It's not rocket science.
Okay.
It's just one other person you gotta chase down.
I mean, he is an elected official in town.
I know he is, but he doesn't know her from Adam. And if I dragged anybody off the street and they said they want to be on the advisory board, they would come in here and we would vote on whether to accept them or not. We've never refused anybody.
Mr. Chairman, can we get back
I
to
would like to-
the motion?
Yeah, I would like to, I don't want this to devolve into an argument.
Nope, not an argument. I'm passionate.
And I agree with that as well.
Chairman,
Mr. Bennett,
just a quick point. This committee is unique because they are appointed by majority of the towns. There are some that do a committee different makeup, but the majority are appointed by one elected official. If we have a town meeting or a town election where no one runs for moderator,
It was tough.
Mr. Hall said, I've done my time, I'm leaving. And if Mr. Graves had not stepped up and asked people to write him in, we would not have no moderator.
Right.
You need a moderator for town meeting. The provisions are in there, so when you start a town meeting, the town clerk can act as the moderator until the town meeting body elects the moderator for that meeting, and then his job is done.
Mhm.
If you only have the moderator set up, so the moderator must appoint members, and you can't appoint members, the committee can't appoint members itself. If you don't have an elected moderator, and
You're stuck.
shy people,
you're hung until there's another moderator, until there's a
how do
moderator.
you do it?
Yeah.
So again, this is a unique committee in the town where you can have the moderator, be the first one. But if there is no moderator and you want to have membership, and if it allows for 7, you would like to hopefully to have at least, as many people as you can get up to the 7. Like, so it's, again, it's a unique committee to have the ability to, the committee to appoint members. And it's only until the next annual town meeting. You're not appointing people for 3 years.
Nope, it's just appointing until the next ATM.
January.
Yeah.
Come on in and join, and at the annual town meeting, you gotta fill out the paperwork and ask to be appointed. So if you put it in the bylaw that the committee can't appoint members itself, only the moderator, what do you do if you don't have a moderator?
Well, no, well,
It's a
and-
unique committee, a unique circumstance.
And
what
we,
do
and by the way,
works.
we're not removing in here the ability of the committee to appoint.
No,
The only,
I'm-
yeah,
I'm just hearing,
Yeah.
it seems like some of in favor of doing away with that.
Mr. Bennett makes a good point, and I want to take it up because we have a new member that's on, just so clarification. You heard that you were appointed by the moderator. If you want to take and stay on after annual town meeting, you have to make it known that you want to take and stay on. Your term ends at the end of the annual town meeting.
Right.
So I mean, that's.
Yeah.
And it's a good it's actually a good learning way that they can get somebody on, be on for a while and decide whether they want to take it, stay on. or not.
continue.
Or be a selectman.
We've had plenty of those.
All right, let's get back to so currently we have we have a motion to present the amended article to the select board for inclusion in the fall special town meeting warrant. The amendment accepted by the mover and the seconder. So we have an amended article.
And
Is
we've
there
had
any-
discussions.
And we've had discussion. Is there any further discussion on the amended article? Hearing none. We go to a vote. Ms. Bartolomeo,
Yes.
Mr. Spring,
Yes.
Mr. Kaplan.
Nope.
Ms. Hansa,
Yes.
and I am a yes. That passes 4-1-1, or 4-1-0, I'm sorry. At 7:40 PM. Mr. Lamontagne, I will have the article to you by the end of the week. So by EOB tomorrow. Okay,
Maybe he'll see it Monday because he's on holiday.
I know. You won't see it on Monday. Monday is a holiday. Yes, I know, Mr. Kappas. Thank you. No, he may not see it on Monday. Monday's a holiday. He'll see it on Tuesday. Yeah, But he'll, may I ask, when will this be presented to the select board for inclusion?
Select board will vote on the final warrant October, what was it, 13th?
Yes.
At
13th, so it'll be included in the final warrant. Okay, thank you.
Did they get to see it before then? Did they get to see that? Does it go on the warrant before that? 'Cause
They
you're
saw
gonna-
the draft warrant this
you get the
past week.
draft.
They saw the draft warrant this
We'll
week.
have a draft of the draft.
Because you got citizens petitions that can be from now to the 14th
Right.
put on.
All right,
Thank you.
item 6C is the July BVA document. At this time, I'll accept the motion to table this until the September 16th meeting.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second,
I have a motion and a second I have a motion by Mr. Spring and a second by Mrs. Bartolomeo to table the BVA from July to September 16th. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Bartolomeo,
yes.
Mr. Spring,
Yes.
Mr. Caplis, Ms. Hansa,
Yes.
and I am a yes. That will be 4-0-0 at 7:42 PM. That is accepted. All right. Next item on the agenda is the FY 2021 Annual Report of the Advisory Committee. I will accept the motion to approve the annual report and forward to the town administrator and town administrative assistant for inclusion in the FY 21 Town of Templeton Annual Report.
Do we get to discuss this?
Yes, we do after the motion.
Okay, I'll make the motion because I want to end up getting it to discussion.
I have a motion by Mr. Spring. Do I have a second?
Second,
I have a second by Ms. Bartolomeo. To approve the annual report and forward it to the town administrator and administrative assistant for inclusion in the FY 2021 Town of Templeton Annual Report. At this time, we will go through discussion and any amendments that may be needed to the report.
Yes.
Mr. Spring.
Yes, paragraph 3.
Yep.
On page 1.
Yep.
I'd like to see that stricken because most of that is in the matrix below it.
Okay,
Just, I mean, it's clearer to people what's going on when they see it live rather than.
so you're just saying strike the entire paragraph.
Yes, strike the.
Entire paragraph. So you made the motion
Yes,
and Ms. Bartolomeo, you second the
Yep.
motion. And so if you both accept it, I'm the author and I will accept that. That's fine.
okay,
I have no problem striking that entire paragraph.
okay.
That makes sense. Is there any other discussion or amendments to the report? And may I also note to the committee that I am going to take a look at the final budget table that I put into the report and ensure the numbers are correct before I send it over.
Yes, I was going to take an end up on the second page.
I know there's already one thing that I have to make a change on. The emergency reserve fund was allocated 47,500. The expended should be 3,000.
$566.11.
The emergency reserve?
No, just, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I went down to the bottom number. Yes,
No, it
I
should
have
be
that.
47,500 allocated, 3,000 expended for a 44,500 ending balance. I know I have to make that change. I'm going to go through and double check the rest of the numbers to
Yeah,
make sure
and
that it's correct.
the percentage.
I'll change the percentage. That's all.
Also.
That's in an Excel spreadsheet. That's not a,
Oh, okay.
that'll all get done on its own. I don't have to do anything other than change the dollar numbers.
Before that, I would like to take an end up because we've all gone through it. Is to take an end up striking everything below the second paragraph,
On,
second page 2.
hang on. I gotta take a look, where are we here? So we're on page 2.
Yep.
We've stricken the third paragraph of page 1. We have the table of the membership.
Yep.
And then we go to paragraph 1 of page 2,
Yeah, and
which
this-
is the committee held its annual reorganization.
That's okay.
Okay, and then the following members are appointed to standing committees.
Yes,
Okay, and then where are we striking starting?
from a brief detail of a town meeting,
Okay, and then we're striking that sentence and then
everything below it,
everything below it up to,
up to the advisory final budget and expense.
so including the line that says the advisory's full financial report can be viewed as part of the town accountants.
Yes.
Okay. So strike that line as well.
Yep.
Okay. You are the mover, and that is, you may, does the seconder accept by acclamation?
Yes.
Okay, and I am the author, so I will accept it.
Okay.
That's fine.
The next one, you've already made this, and we agree with you.
Yep.
To the thing. And we can get rid of the dialogue basically below. The advisory looked at the following financial actions, 21, is to take and end up, number one.
Yep.
Is to take and strike all that, because that's actually in it. I don't think that level of detail needs
Okay.
to be put in.
So strike,
So where we spent the money.
so
because
strike
we-
all of 1A,
Yeah, one
strike
A
all of 1A and B,
and B,
okay?
and number two becomes number one.
Yep, it'll all renumber, that's fine. Yep.
And I don't see anything else that I'd like to take and see change.
So again, that change, you are the mover, so you accept the amendment by acclamation, the seconder accepts the amendment by acclamation. I am the author, I accept the amendment, that's fine.
Thank
Is
you,
there
Mr.
any other discussion on the final report?
With those changes, I think I'd like to take and see us vote on this.
Okay, is there any other discussions on the final report? No? Okay. Hearing no other discussions on the final report, we will go to a vote. Ms. Bartolomeo.
Yes.
Mr. Spring.
Yes,
Mr. Caplis. Ms. Hansa.
Yes.
And Mr. Rivard is a yes, as 4-0-0 at 7:47 PM. That is accepted. Now, we move to discussion. This will be brief. There are no motions required for discussion items. The only discussion item that I have this evening is to present the next policy that the committee will review and for posting on the town website. And in this case, it is going to be the end of year transfers between accounts. I've given you the policy in your packets. The only thing that I'm going to do at this time, there's no other action needed by the committee today, is that I'm going to ask us to please review this. And I'm going to ask us to return with any revisions that we may have for the meeting on October 7, 2021, 1 month from now.
Yep.
Which is the same time frame I gave for the last one. We got a little extension on the last one because of the canceled meeting.
I was hoping that we could address these tonight, just to move along, because we have a number of others also. I know that you're trying to think and end up giving some time, but we've had this particular document for a number of meetings. I looked at the minutes, and it was brought up way back in the meetings in July. So I want to take it. I'm trying to take and move us along a little quicker, Mr. Chairman, but I mean, it's.
I understand what you're trying to do, but I would like to have, in this case, I would like the committee time to be able to review the document themselves and then come back.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask the committee to review the end of year transfer between accounts policy and the corresponding form that goes with it.
Yeah.
And we are going to come back with any revisions we may have to this on October 7th, 2021. And I will do the same thing with this that I did with the previous one, is I will take it, I'm going to clean it up for the formatting and such like that. And I'll have that version with the changes ready in your packets on October 7th.
Would you take some input now
I will take some input now, yes.
on the transfer document?
Yep.
That this is to end up the Town of Templeton Advisory Board request. It needs to be bigger and bolder. For some reason, it didn't do it.
What portion are we looking at here?
Up here right at the top.
Oh, okay, yeah. So Town of Templeton Advisory Board.
Yeah.
So increase larger and bold font.
Yes. The other thing is the spacing underneath the advisory signature is to move it up, because
Yep.
it slips onto some of it slips onto the next page. Is request a copy.
That's funny, actually, because it didn't slip onto the second page on mine. I don't know
Oh,
why.
really?
Yeah, no, mine printed correctly. I don't know why.
Oh,
But having said that, I
Yes.
can tweak it to make sure that it stays on one
And
page.
The reason I want to bring this one up is this particular one, it has the right chapter and section, 4433B. The one that is on the website is incorrect.
Okay.
So when we end up doing that, we have to make sure that whoever's going to put it on understands that they have to take that one off and put this one on.
Right.
That's my inputs for
Okay.
for now. And we'll work on that the next one.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
My only input on this, which is, actually well-written,
Okay.
is formatting, just like Will
Yep.
said.
And I'm gonna,
Make sure the format's the same.
yep, I'm gonna
policy.
clean that up.
Yeah, I mean, because all the policies, no matter if they're ours, Board of Health,
Yep.
I mean, they all should be the same
Yep.
format for the entire town.
And I'm gonna, and like I said, but yeah, you may not have been back in the room when I said it, but what I'm gonna do is, when we come back to this on October 7th.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the same thing that I did for the one that we looked at earlier today, is I'm gonna have a cleaned up policy,
Excellent.
formatting taken care of,
This is
and,
great.
and you'll see the edits that I made to it so that you understand what was changed.
Excellent.
Okay,
This is
we'll do the
awesome.
same thing. That seemed to work well, so I think
That's right.
that'll be a good way to do it.
That's great.
Okay, and the other thing that I will also add is the same thing that I added to the last one is the revision at the end of the document, the revision history. Okay, all right, excellent. So we'll return to that on October 7th.
Excellent.
At this point, we are at member comments. For first, I will open the floor to public comments. I would like to note that in the room with us this evening are Select Board Member Jeff Bennett, NRSD School Committee Member Justice Graves, and Town Administrator Adam Lamontagne is also in the room. Is there any public comment this evening? Mr. Bennett?
I just have two quick things. First, do you have a copy of the form to request funds from the emergency reserve? I think next month I'm going to be a couple bucks short. and If I could get a few bucks.
Ask that.
And there's the entertainment portion of the evening, ladies and gentlemen.
And there's always one. And,
He's
yeah,
here all night. He's here all
on a-
night.
on a-
He's here all night, try the veal.
Hey, I had to run it by you. On a serious note, and I believe that the chairman, Mr. Ravad, had submitted a resignation and then agreed to stay on for however
I'm
long.
going to discuss that a little bit further in my comments this evening.
I'm going to chain him to the desk.
Great.
I totally get that, you have a job and you have a family and a house and a life and this. And as Mr. Will Spring has sat as chairman of this committee, I have also, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. It demonstrated that tonight. You have to do the minutes, you have to do the agenda, you have to post it, you have to communicate and transmit all this stuff to the members. You have to make sure the agenda is right. You have mail you have to come in and get. You have to put together the article that's required to go in the Garden News. You have to proofread it, follow up on it. You have to get the bills. You have to make sure it gets paid. Sometimes you go back and forth. They send you a bill and another bill and another bill, and you got to get in touch with it. It's a lot of work and effort that people don't realize, because there is nobody for the chair to go, hey, take care of this. Hey, take care. It's all on the chair. And I've been talking with the town administrator about interns and some money that we have budgeted. Not only this committee, but some other committees that to at least get someone to maybe do like the minutes or something to have a little consistency and take a little pressure off. I personally, as I said, I've been the chair of this committee. I was on it for about 4.5 years. I served the chair for, I don't know, a couple of years, whatever it was. So I understand and I get the amount of effort that you have to put in, the amount of work, the time, and not everybody not everybody's able to just, that's all I'm going to do. That's my hobby. I mean, some people, there's things to do. So I do get that you're leaving. You're a good fit for this committee, in my opinion. You've been a good chair. You've steered it and got things like organized. And I was glad to see you, and I was kind of impressed with the effort you put in so far. So I do understand it. I wish there was a way to work it out that you could stay. Hopefully you'll come back, as some people do.
Yeah.
And Mr. May and others have done, So I just wanted to thank you for however long you stay. I appreciate the effort. This is an important committee to the town. Some people don't realize it. Some people don't really get what it's about. They just think, well, it's just the emergency, the town's reserve fund, which is you have statutory authority over that. A few other things you do together with the Board of Selectmen, and to make recommendations with town meeting. And if you actually do that part, you put together verbiage and you go and you talk to town meeting. It's an important thing, and it's needed. And sometimes there's a lack of understanding about the importance and the function of this committee. And one of the most important parts of it is the chair and ensuring all the parts get done. You've done a good job. You stepped into it. I don't know if you got lassoed into it or if you were able, willingly going here.
I volunteered to take it until the reorganization meeting in June, and then I continued.
Okay.
We know
So-
enough that they can keep him in.
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you, and I hope at some point you come back, because I think you've done a really good job, and it's an important one.
Thank
And,
you.
I appreciate it as a resident. I try to stay informed and participate
Mhm.
and things, and I'm not speaking as a selectman, I'm here as a resident. If I'm not at meetings, I try to watch them. I've been doing like this Zoom and this
Yep.
one, I watch 2 at a time and
Mhm.
stuff. I'm just.
Yep.
That's my hobby, but your effort and time is appreciated. And I do get,
Mhm.
the reasons. You come here and you say, wow, I got my family, I
Yeah.
got my kids, I got my job, I got something, I like a little downtime for myself. And it's a lot of effort, a lot of work. So it's very much appreciated for all of you volunteering. But you in particular, I was sad to see you go. I understand, I totally get it, but I'm just.
It's not gone yet.
I'm not dead yet.
I'm not
And like I-
you either.
And I'm also going to discuss this more in my member comments coming up. So
Thank you very
there's
much
time.
for your
Yep.
time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. I appreciate it. Are there any other?
Also, I would thank Ms. Hansa for stepping up.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Hanzo, for stepping up,
She stays a long time.
as do we. Are there any other public comments this evening? All right, hearing none, I'm going to ask our newest member rather, to if she has any public comments first. Ms. Hansa.
I don't.
Very good. Again, welcome. Thank you for volunteering, and we appreciate
the nice
another voice on this committee. And I would also, public service announcement, we still have 2 open positions. And if anyone is interested in joining us and making a difference for the town of Templeton, we'd ask you to please submit your committee interest form to Holly Young, the town administrative assistant, hyoung@templetonma.org. I'm sorry, templetonma.gov. Let me get that right. Thank you. But please do so, because at this point, we still have 2 open positions, and any committee interest forms that we get would come directly to this committee for a vote, because those positions have long since the 30 days for the moderator to appoint has since expired. I'm done with the public service announcements. Mr. Kaplis, any comments from you this evening?
I'm just going to echo what Jeff said. I think, I'm new here as
Mhm.
well. Only been about a month. This is my third meeting.
Third?
Third. That's right, yeah.
Probably third. Let's go with that.
third, yeah.
That sounds good.
And I tell you, what I've seen of you and what you have done is a tremendous job. And it would be definitely a loss to this committee and to the community if we lost you. So we would like you to stay, so as long as you can. And whatever we can do as a committee to help, you're not by yourself.
I know.
Reach out, email, text, call. If that's something that I can do, I'll definitely try to help out as much as I can as well.
Appreciate that.
Just like everybody else on this committee. But I think the meeting went well tonight.
Thank you.
I think you're doing a great job, and I think we're all doing a good service to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplis. Ms. Bartolomeo.
Well, let's see. This has been a very rough week, to say the least. I would like you to stay. If you need someone to pick up the mail, I will happily do that. We do not live too far from each other. I will do anything I can to help you. Our committee has taken a terrible beating over the last few years with a lot of opposition. People don't understand our role. We have new people in town, and it's really, really important for us to take the time to explain why we do things so they can understand, because they're not all sitting here, they're on behind those cameras. And we do have a number of people that are willing to watch us. My husband said to me one day, you know, I am not going to go to another meeting if I don't understand. I depend on the advisory board because they know things I don't know. So when they look at us for recommendations, we can give them recommendations and we can tell them why we recommend or why we don't recommend. I feel we have a strong relationship with Adam
Mhm.
and the selectmen.
Mhm.
And it's got to stay strong because it takes all of us to make the community a whole place. We cannot put up with division. The idea of limiting our discussion to 15 minutes upset me very badly because there are times, as long as we are on point, if someone has something to say or a question they want answered, that is our priority, is them. You know, we've had administrators that work their hardest to degrade us, and I am just too stubborn to go anywhere. My town means a lot to me. I have roots that last over 100 years. So there's nothing you can do to hurt me because I'm not going anywhere. And I'm feeling really, really positive about our relationships and the work we've got to do ahead. Jeffrey has got a lot of good ideas. He does a lot of extra work, but don't feel that you have to row the boat by yourself because you don't,
That's true.
okay? And I think maybe he'll change it to the desk and maybe I'll barricade the road.
Jesus. Another one who's going to chain me to the chair. Thank you, Bev, and
You're
my apologies for that motion that I ended up not making this evening. The only reason I was going to make it was because the agenda was so heavy that I was concerned about getting through it.
Well,
And I was also
you
gonna.
have your club.
I know, and I was also gonna mention that if there was anything that we wanted to discuss
It's too
longer on, to
res-
just,
it's
we would just
very
relieve
restrictive.
the rules.
We're
But I
big-
understand
we're
what you're
big-
saying.
We're big people. I
Yep.
think we can handle it.
So thank you, and I apologize if that upset you.
Yes, it did.
Anyways, thank you, Bev.
Yep.
Will, Mr. Spring.
Just to take an end up, delaying on what she just said.
You gotta speak up so they can hear you.
Just
Yeah.
to relay on what she just said,
Yeah.
is the fact that this body, it's very important for us to end up having discussions. And if we don't have those discussions,
Mhm.
it limits our functionality to help the communities, the community. Our main job is to end up sitting here, reviewing all the stuff that the people in the town cannot review, and to take and make a recommendation to them. They can't sit here and know everything that's going on. It's our job, and it's our job to make those recommendations to them after we've reviewed them. And to go along with, and I know I've said this to you before, is reach out to me. I'll help you. Don't, you're hearing it from everybody. And I've been telling you this for a while in between. Please,
Mhm.
there's things that we could end up doing to help you.
Mhm.
You just have to reach out. One of the things that I learned later on as a chair a number of years ago is I actually ended up, and you can also do this, end up delegating. If you need somebody to look up something or get something, is delegate to
Yeah.
those individuals.
You are much busier than all of us put
Yeah.
together. You know, really, with your young family.
Yes,
He has time on his hands. I have time on my hands. You can always pack stuff and look at it the week before the meeting. Don't feel like you have to respond to everything.
Mhm.
Because he'll say, did you see it? I'll go, nope, didn't look yet.
I can't say that my roots go as deep as Bev's. It's probably closer to 50 years. And I'm a newcomer as far as some of the older folks in this community. But I mean, this community actually, and Bev is not going to go anywhere.
Mm.
I'm not going anywhere because if something happens to me, I'm getting buried in this community. I already made those arrangements. So
Let's not
I'm
discuss
not
that,
going
please.
anywhere. I may not be able to end up helping them.
Let's not discuss that, please.
Me too, they're taking me out in the
Let's
box.
not discuss that either.
Just to take and end up going along with some things is that, as I mentioned to you in an email, is to, if you need to take it, end up having some help
Mhm.
doing some certain stuff. And if I don't want to take it and see you get off,
Mhm.
if you want to step down as chair, I understand it. I understand that the amount of work it is. I've been there, I've done that.
Mhm.
But I mean,
Very
just to take and
intelligent.
keep you on is as far as I'm concerned,
Mhm.
I want to do that if you want to step down. I would gladly end up making sure that you continue to take and stay on because I see you as an asset. Let me end up addressing
Don't go too
the
far.
fall town meeting.
Well, as I said, I was going to bring that up in my comments as well. So if you want, if you'd like, I'd like to, I'll address that if that's okay.
Okay, I'll let you do that.
Okay.
I think that's about it for now. I'll probably think of something.
All right.
As an old guy, I always think about things after.
All right. My turn, and normally I would keep my comments brief, but there are a few things that I do need to discuss this evening. So first of all, I want to thank the committee members. This was an excellent discussion evening. We took some good actions. I appreciate everyone's candor. I appreciate everyone's thoughtful comments. It was a very good meeting. Thank you. First item is the fall town meeting. So as you all probably know, the select board voted last Wednesday to set the date of the fall special town meeting as Wednesday, November 3, 2021, 6:30 p.m. or 6 p.m. Thank you. I didn't want to say something wrong. 6 p.m. and it's going to be at the Narragansett, the middle school auditorium as usual. So having said that, by having that date, we can at least project as to the timeframes as to when we're going to need to make recommendations on the article. I've been told that the article currently stands at 15, or so the warrant currently stands at 15 articles. It is out for citizens petitions at this time to close on September 14th. The town administrator is nodding, so I must be getting the dates right. And then at that point, the select board is going to vote on the final article on October 13th. Wow, I'm doing good tonight.
Yes.
So per the bylaw as it currently reads, we have to make recommendations no later than 4 days prior to the special town meeting. If the town meeting is held on November 3rd, that means 4 days would be October 30th.
Okay.
If you go the way that I'm counting, because I'm going to count business days,
Okay.
and in all honesty, that gives us a little more insurance if we do it that way. We're talking October 28th, which is a Thursday. And I'm gonna bring this up for vote at our next committee meeting. My suggestion is going to be that we hold our pre-town meeting
Yep.
on Thursday, October 21st at the normal time of 6:30. This would supplant our normal third Thursday of the month meeting. I am then going to suggest that we hold a advisory board committee meeting on Wednesday, October 27th, pending availability of the room and
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
else, strictly to vote to approve the recommendations on the article or on the warrant.
Yeah.
Okay, that will be the only order of business for that meeting. Okay, and my goal is that if we hold the pre-town meeting on the 21st, I will have the recommendations written up and to you by,
Okay.
within a day or two. And then we will be able to vote on it on the Wednesday, the 27th, which if that works, I will be able to submit to the town on the 28th, which will be,
Yep.
if you count business days on the deadline, if you count non-business days, well ahead of the deadline.
Sounds like
It's
a
tight.
plan.
It's tight, but it's doable. And having said that, this is one of the reasons for the article that we're presenting to the special town meeting in order to reduce those timeframes back down to 2 days prior, because it is tight.
Yeah.
And and we're seeing that now. It's a very tight time frame to get it done.
Yeah.
So,
And last year we didn't make it.
and last year there were a couple times we didn't make it either time, I believe. Right. So that's one. That will be on the agenda for our next meeting will be to vote on those items, the pre-town meeting to be Thursday, the 21st, and then a special committee meeting on Wednesday, the 27th, strictly to approve
Yep.
the recommendations to the articles, the recommendations on the warrant. Okay?
Mhm.
And that's the next meeting, correct?
That will be, we will vote on that at the next meeting on September 16th. Yes, that'll be on the agenda.
And one thing I did forget, I do apologize.
Nope, that's quite all right. Go ahead.
Can can we put on the agenda for next time, if possible, the ESSER funds? So we can discuss some of those.
Discuss the ESSER, to discuss the usage of the ESSER funds?
Yeah,
Yep, we can do that.
Yeah,
I can
please.
agenda.
that's gonna be huge.
Thank you. I forgot that.
Oh, see?
That is gonna be huge.
Yeah, like a
I
lot
will,
of money huge.
I will add that to the
Awesome.
agenda for September
you.
If I can
16th.
add that,
Thank
I'll
you.
also add another one, Mr. Chairman, is to end up looking at one of the other policies, probably stabilization or one-time funds. Either one of those, whichever the chair would like to take and end up doing, is to put it on to get, I see what you're doing is you're putting it on. It's
Closing
there,
it and
and then saying update and we'll.
close it and do the next one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So I wanted to end up getting that on, so we're still working towards that, because we committed to take and do that one.
I will, as long as you're okay with me giving the month, because now we'll be looking at two of them at the same time.
What I mean is that they can have it on the agenda and to bring it up so people review it, just like we did.
Yeah, I'm just saying, what I'm saying is I'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting, as
Yeah.
long as you allow us the month to review it before we take before we take any action on it.
Just do it the same way we
Correct,
did
yeah.
on this last.
That's fine. Yeah, no, that's fine. I will do that. I want to make sure that we have time to review it and then make our recommendations on it. So that's why I want the month. Okay, and I am happy to do that. That's fine. Item number 2 that you're gonna find on the agenda next time around is we're gonna have to, until such point at which if we get somebody to help us with the minutes or whatever the case may be, we do have to discuss scribe. So that will come on the agenda for the next meeting for this week. I will take this week's minutes. I will take care of it.
Okay.
Okay. I will take care of it and I will submit them, but we are going to have to discuss a new scribe at the next meeting.
Yeah.
So that will be brought up to a vote. And then the final thing that I want to discuss was, Mr. Bennett touched on it. You've all touched on it briefly, was the fact that was my resignation. So I did submit a resignation, and it has since been withdrawn until further notice.
Okay.
The reason it was withdrawn until further notice was because we did have an immediate resignation that we addressed earlier in the meeting. And if I had let my resignation go through before Ms. Hansa came on, if I had let my resignation go through, it would have left this committee with 3 members
Yeah.
and unable to conduct business.
Yeah.
And I was not going to do that to either the committee or the town.
Thank you.
It was,
Yeah.
so as a result, I withdrew my resignation for that reason. Now, my intention would be, if I am going to resign completely, I would like to see a 6th member on before I do it, for the sole reason that it leaves the committee with a little bit of insurance. My intention as of right now will be to resign no later than the end of the fall town meeting on November 3. I am going to carry us through that point at least. I will take under consideration everything that everyone has said tonight.
You know what will happen to you? You will not
This
be
is
on
gonna
the
be good.
committee, and you are going to go crazy, because there are things that you're gonna think we should do, and you're gonna wish the heck you were back on.
Well, first of all, I was
It
crazy.
gets
Well, first of
under
all,
your
I was,
skin, you
first of
know,
all, I
it's
was
like a
crazy to begin
disease.
with, so I can't go any further. But like I said, right now, my intention is to resign no later than the end of the fall town meeting. that is under consideration.
Well,
I
you
have not,
keep it under, put it.
I am not-
Don't,
yeah.
why don't you just throw the key away then? You'll have to go look in the woods for it or something.
You need
But-
us to talk to your wife.
I can hike through.
all
the
I'm gonna
woods.
say is this, if you think I'm stubborn, go talk to my wife.
I know how that works. I have a boss also.
So
But
I am,
seriously,
it is not set in stone yet.
because this committee by rights should not be hard on you in any way.
Yeah.
You know,
And-
we've got through some rough spots and the sailing's going to be a whole lot clearer and a lot smoother. We're going with the tide now.
Yes, now we're riding now we're on top of the wave and riding
Yes,
it, I
yes,
think.
we're
is
not
the-
under the water and trying to
Right.
struggle up.
I will say this,
It is a
Mr.
new
Spring,
word.
you do a ton of research for this committee. And you're not asked to do it. You do it on your own. And I thank you for that. I will reach out more if I need help with certain things. Fortunately, most of the time I don't have to. Most of the time you've done it already, and I just have to say, Mr.
It's-
Spring, please.
It's the engineer in him.
Yeah.
That's particular. That's.
I work with a
that's
ton of
what it is.
engineers. I
Well,
understand the mentality, so.
Next time I'll have him sit
Just
here
to
and.
forewarn you, after we get through these policies.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some additional policies.
That's okay. That's okay. As
Well, we can have
That's
all the
okay.
policies we want as long as we follow.
long as we
them.
follow them, that's the important part. And that's okay. I have no, I believe in policy as something that is necessary
We need.
in order
consist-
to,
we
in order to
need-
conduct
we need-
business.
We
Let me
need
just say this.
consistency.
I have one particular presentation that I'm working on now is to, as a new member orientation
Mm.
is to end up, as we bring new members on, just to take and end up hitting some highlights
Yep.
as to what we do, because it's important for those new members to end up understanding what we do.
Ellen spent time today. We talked for a while and she spent time looking at the information that she got to find out who we are, what we are allowed to do, what's expected of us.
Mhm.
This lady is going to be a huge asset to this committee. Absolutely. She
Good.
has an accounting background, my friends.
Ah, excellent.
Yes, so that is a huge asset.
Excellent. Then you understand, I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics as well, so I, I get it.
So between the two of you, you're gonna be dynamite.
All right.
Yeah.
You have anything-
Okay.
You look like you wanted to bring, no, you're good? Okay.
Let's go do the motion.
I think that was everything that I needed to discuss. Again, thank you all. Excellent discussion this evening. I look forward to our next meeting in 2 weeks and seeing what comes out of that. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Kaplis moved.
Second,
Ms. Bartolomeo second. Any discussion? In that case, Ms. Bartolomeo, Mr.
yes.
Spring,
Yes.
Mr. Kaplis.
Yes.
Ms. Hansa.
Yes.
And I am a yes, 500 to adjourn at 7:19 PM. The Templeton